They told me not to show up, said I'd embarrass the family, said I wasn't successful enough to be seen at my father's birthday. And they said all this outside the luxury hotel I owned. I stood there, clutching a key card to my empire, while my sister blocked the door, laughing at my cheap dress, calling me a disgrace. She didn't know I built the very floor she was bragging about reserving. My mother said, "Only people who matter should be here." Funny, because every person on their VIP list had been trying to do business with me for months. 10 years ago, they called me a failure for leaving the family firm. Today, I walked into that party not as a guest, but as the CEO of one of the most powerful hotel chains in the country. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or cast aside, this story will speak to your soul, because sometimes the best kind of revenge is simply owning the room they never let you enter. I stood still, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. Rachel, my older sister, stood in front of me like a human barricade, arms folded, eyes narrowed, voice dipped in sugar, soaked in venom. "You really think you're coming in?" she scoffed. "This is the Belmont, not a diner." Her words sliced through the humid Manhattan air like a blade. Inside, I could hear laughter echoing through the marble halls, my father's signature booming laugh. The sound bounced off the walls I had personally designed. It danced beneath chandeliers I had chosen. Every inch of this hotel bore my fingerprint. But standing there, just outside the gold-framed doors, I was treated like a beggar at the gates of my own kingdom. Rachel looked me up and down. Her eyes landed on my clutch. She smirked. "What did you bring?" she said with mock sweetness. "A Starbucks card?" She had no idea. No clue that the envelope in my hand held the deed to a private villa in Maui, a gift for our father's birthday, a property so exclusive it had its own helipad. But to Rachel, I was still the disappointment. The black sheep, the girl who left the family firm to chase hotel dreams. She stepped closer. Her knockoff Prada heels clicked sharply against the granite. She whispered, low and cutting, "You know Mom told you not to come. You don't belong here, Melissa. You'll just ruin the pictures." She adjusted the strap of her bag, a fake Valentino I recognized immediately. From the clearance rack of a department store in Soho, she didn't even realize that I held a controlling interest in that department store's parent company. I took a breath, steady, calm. This wasn't about revenge, not yet. I wasn't here to prove a point. I wasn't here to fight. I was here to celebrate my father, on his birthday, in my hotel. I looked Rachel in the eyes and said simply, "He's my father too." She rolled her eyes. "Please, you think you can just waltz in here with your budget dress and pretend you belong? This is for people who matter, Melissa." I glanced past her, through the glass, to the opulent lobby, to the world I had built brick by brick. She didn't recognize any of it, didn't want to. But that was about to change. Very soon, she would know. They all would. The door she was guarding so proudly was mine. And I was done waiting for permission to walk through it. This was just the beginning. 10 years ago, I did the unthinkable. I walked away from the Turner & Turner law firm, the family legacy, to pursue a degree in hospitality. To my father, it was betrayal, disgrace. He didn't even look at me when he said it. "No daughter of mine is going to be a waitress." And just like that, I was out. No family dinners, no birthday invitations, no support. But I didn't leave with anger. I left with vision. While they whispered behind closed doors, mocking my choices, measuring success by titles and degrees, I was busy laying foundation. I started small. A rundown hotel in upstate New York, paint peeling, roof leaking, no working elevator. But I believed in it, in myself. I poured everything I had into that place: money, sweat, sleepless nights. I worked the front desk, mopped the floors, cleaned rooms myself when staff quit, and slowly it came alive. I turned it into something beautiful, booked out, renovated, reimagined. And then I bought another, and another. Year by year, brick by brick, I built Regency Group. 28 luxury hotels across 3 continents, thousands of employees, a portfolio worth billions. And the woman they once dismissed as a glorified waitress became a name whispered in boardrooms, respected in investment circles, admired by industry leaders, yet none of that mattered to them, not until I showed up today. To them, I was still the girl who walked away, still the disappointment, Still the ghost they tried to erase from holiday cards. They never asked where I went, what I built, what I survived. They didn't care to know, but today they would see. Because the woman standing at the entrance of the Belmont, she didn't just come back, she came back with keys to the kingdom. As I stood there, still gripping the envelope in my hand, the doors parted again, and out came my mother, polished, composed, her pearl necklace glinting in the evening light like some badge of social rank. She barely glanced at me before delivering her verdict. "We discussed this. You're not on the list." No greeting, no warmth, just dismissal. No, they discussed it. I received a text that morning, short, cold. "Don't come, don't embarrass us." Classic mom. Appearance over reality, image over truth. She began talking without pause. Rachel this, Rachel that. She just bought a house in Westchester. Her fiancé is a surgeon. They're looking at beachfront property. I didn't interrupt. Didn't mention that the medical practice her future son-in-law worked for leased office space in one of my buildings. That I had signed the lease myself. That I could cancel it with one email. I simply said, "I brought a gift." Rachel burst out laughing. "Let me guess. From the dollar store?" To them, I was still that girl. The one who chased hotel dreams. The one who skipped law school. They hadn't updated the narrative in a decade. Still stuck on the version of me they could control. The version they could pity. But the truth was, that envelope held the deed to a $6 million villa in Maui. Private, gated, oceanfront. Booked years in advance. A gift. For my father. From the daughter he disowned. My mother pursed her lips, unimpressed. "Rachel's gift will be more appropriate," she said. "She just made junior partner." Yes. And that same law firm was months behind on rent, in a building I owned. They had no idea, no clue the structure of their lives sat on my foundation. But ignorance wouldn't protect them forever, because tonight, that foundation was going to speak, loudly, clearly, and they were finally going to learn exactly who I was. And then, it happened. The moment that cracked the performance. The gold-trimmed doors of the Belmont parted once more, and out stepped David, my head of security, my right hand since Hotel Number 1. He stood tall in his tailored navy suit, earpiece glinting, calm, confident, unwavering. "Is everything all right, Ms. CEO?" he asked. Loud, clear. The title dropped like a hammer. Ms. CEO. My mother flinched. Rachel blinked, her mouth slightly open. Their well-rehearsed disdain paused for the first time that evening. You own the Belmont?" my mother asked, her voice barely more than a breath. "I do," I said, stepping forward. "Shall we go in?" And just like that, the power shifted. I moved past them, through the grand entrance, into my domain. The staff snapped into motion, posture straight, eyes alert. Every face held a mixture of surprise and quiet respect. "Welcome back, Ms. Turner," the concierge smiled. The very same concierge who'd just offered my mother champagne 15 minutes ago. Rachel stood frozen behind me, speechless, rooted. The tasting menu she had mocked? I curated it myself with our in-house Michelin chef. The wine pairings, approved personally by my sommelier. The VIP floor they so proudly claimed was theirs. I redesigned it. Every chandelier, every piece of art, every imported stone tile. They had no idea they were guests in my world, walking on my marble, breathing my success. And now, that success had a name. Melissa Turner, the girl they tried to write off, the woman who now owned the very air they were standing in. Guests in my empire, pretending to belong. I didn't look back, not yet. Let them stand in silence, let it sink in, because for the first time, they realized they weren't looking down on me anymore, they were looking up. Inside the lounge, the music softened, the clinking of glasses faded, and all eyes shifted. My father stood slowly from his chair, confusion lining his face. "What are you doing here?" he asked. His voice wasn't angry, it wasn't cold, it was lost. I met his eyes, calm, grounded. "You said I couldn't afford it," I said gently, then smiled. But, surprise. A ripple ran through the room. The Andersons, the Blackwoods, Mr. Carter from the bank, all of them turned pale. Whispers broke the stillness like glass shattering on marble. They had spent months trying to land meetings with someone behind the Regency Group, and here I was, the mystery CEO, the elusive name behind the empire. Rachel's fiancé, so smug earlier, turned ghost white. He glanced at her, then at me, then quietly backed out of the room. He knew. His big promotion depended on a lease his firm couldn't secure without my signature. Mom gasped softly, then shifted, rewriting, rebranding. "We always believed in you, sweetheart," she said too quickly, too smoothly, like a line rehearsed in her head but never spoken aloud until now. Dad sat down slowly, as if the weight of the truth pulled him into the chair. He looked up at me like he was seeing me for the first time, like the blurry edges of the daughter he thought he knew had come into sharp focus. The disappointment, the failure, gone, replaced by a force he couldn't explain, but finally, understood. Around us, the room continued. Champagne still flowed. Laughter returned, hesitantly. But at the center of it all, one thing had changed. They didn't just see me. They saw who I had become, and they knew they would never look at me the same again. Later that evening, I found him alone. My father stood out on the terrace, staring at the city skyline with tired eyes. The glow from the windows lit his face in fractured gold. His hands rested on the railing like the weight of the truth had finally caught up to him. "Those buildings," he murmured, nodding to the silhouettes in the distance. "How many of them do you own?" I stood beside him. "Enough," I said, "including the one your firm rents, and the one Rachel's company is behind on." He gave a weak chuckle, then fell silent again. After a long pause, he spoke. "I was wrong about you, Melissa. So wrong." I nodded. "Yes," I replied. "You were." He turned to face me, his voice low. "Can you ever forgive us?" I looked at him, really looked. At the man who once told me I was wasting my life, the one who couldn't see past the blueprint of his own dreams to recognize the foundation of mine. "It's not about forgiveness," I said quietly. "It's about respect." He nodded slowly, and for once, he didn't argue. Back inside, the party was winding down. Rachel sat motionless, her glass untouched. Mom hovered by the piano, whispering to guests, trying to rewrite our family story like a PR professional under pressure. But the story had already changed. Because I didn't walk into that hotel seeking their approval. I walked in because it was mine. Not just the property, the moment, the narrative, the legacy. For years, they made me feel like I didn't belong at their table, so I built my own. And tonight, I sat at it. Under lights I chose, on marble I installed, surrounded by a world I created. No apologies, no explanations, just presence. And that, more than anything, was what they would remember. I didn't need to prove them wrong. I just needed to be undeniable.